sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the Conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. And Joe King Carter. I love the way that sounds.
Yo.
But I have to have top billing. I'm sorry, Joey. That's just how it works. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Wednesday. It is Wednesday, midweek. It's that magical hump hour of hump day, which I like to say that at the conclusion of the Conversation each and every week meeting at the intersection of community and culture, we get to race towards the weekend because we are at the top now. We're at the apex of the week. Monday is kind of a short week, truncated, because Monday, of course, was Labor Day. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So welcome, everybody, to WMNF 88.5 FM, WMNF.org. If you're listening from any place in the world, I'm Mario Nunez. You've already heard from Joe King Carter, and we're wishing you all a good afternoon. Joey.
Good afternoon.
As we say each and every week, as I start the conversation with you, my brother, how was your week previous?
My week was wonderful. Life is good. I have no real complaints, and I don't think there was anything stellar about it.
Well, that's not what you said when you walked in the studio, because you were bouncing in here, brother. I think you got a good report from your doctor.
Oh, yeah. All my numbers are good. That's always nice. Yeah.
When you get to a certain age, and those numbers have a lot of importance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I spent much of the week working on an art commission that I'm doing, and that was it. Yeah.
And how's that going?
It's going very well. Thank you.
And can you tell us a little bit about the installation that you had for many, many years at King Corona and where it lives today and where people might be able to see it?
It's currently in a studio being worked on. It's being refurbished and slightly redesigned, and then it's going to end up somewhere on public display here in Tampa. So I'm excited.
Can you make any additions or amendments to them, addendums? Can you add to, subtract from?
It's a piece that I'm doing with David Audette, and it's our piece, and we get to do some things with it. So yeah, we're changing a little bit.
Wonderful. So I expect to see myself in there someplace, my brother.
Maybe in one of that's where that's going.
Of course, Joey, but you didn't take the bait. You didn't take it. No, when one of those window vignettes, maybe you can put me in one of those windows.
We'll have a surreal Mario doing something.
Right, a silhouette.
Yeah.
Silhouetted.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, today was a big day in Washington. I was compelled to be watching the news just before we got on the air today because things are possibly going to happen in a big way.
Yes.
With regard to the Epstein files, and they sent Congress home for 6 weeks, thinking that maybe all that stuff would go away. All that did was give them 6 weeks to work on their research and figure out what they're going to do now. And boy, did they do it in a big way today. Did you watch that a little bit today, John?
I did. And by the way, that whole thing of sending Congress home is, this is where we've arrived in our culture, is that we play games in politics.
That's correct.
Games, little games that children would play. It's really
a very unserious administration.
It's just it's nightmarish and at some level funny. You have to kind of laugh at the human race. But yes, I was watching this morning.
I'm hopeful.
Hopeful. Well,
that now things will start to emerge, and sunlight always being the best disinfectant will start to, listen. There's something to be said about full disclosure, because otherwise, if it's always going to be under secret and under the veil, what does that say about us as a people?
Oh, absolutely.
Aren't we trying to get to the truth?
This is what President John F. Kennedy warned us against. He warned us against secret societies in his speech that became quite famous. So, yes, I think that what we're seeing is very healthy resistance. Peaceful resistance is the key here, because, folks, if it goes non-peaceful, our president's militarized state will feel like they have a reason
and a right
to attack others. But if you follow the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King, and we do peaceful resisting and smart resisting,
John Lewis,
there's a lot of things that can happen in a positive way. I don't think America, contrary to what this administration might think, I don't think America is really ready to be an authoritarian state.
Hear, hear. And I'll say one more thing before we get to our guest who's waiting in the wings. She's just waiting to talk to us. Saturday. Saturday. No, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say Monday, which was Labor Day, September 1st. Two things came to mind. Number one, it's something called the beginning of meteorological. You guys can't see me unless you're watching us on Facebook Live. I'm doing air quotes. The beginning of meteorological winter, fall.
Yes.
So you know, that's a bit of a misnomer because here it takes a little bit longer for us to get that first cool breeze.
Absolutely.
But I will tell you, it felt different. It felt different Monday morning. Perhaps a little drier, perhaps a little cooler, perhaps. I'm just playing mind tricks.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to say, and I say it every Labor Day, how much do I miss personally, because it was a right for us at the end of summer. You know, we didn't go back to school until after Labor Day when we were kids, Joey, right?
Right.
And always the last thing that we did before school started was we experienced Labor Day at home with our families or at the beach, because that was also another thing that we did here. Tampeños would go to the beach, Indian Rock, St. Pete Beach, wherever we went to our hotels of choice or cottages, and we would watch, you ready? Mm-hmm. The Jerry Lewis Muscular Dystrophy Labor Day Telethon.
I see.
I mean, I spent my youth watching that because it started in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, when the Rat Pack would show up and they would entertain us, and then Jerry Lewis would raise money. And I remember when the tote board rolled over to $1 million, we all fell over. And I think by the time it ended, there were, you know, money and inflation and everything for adjustment. For like, they were in the multiple tens of millions of dollars collected. But I did actually work those telethons here locally. I answered the phone. That's how inspired I was by Jerry Lewis as a kid watching it, that when I got to be an adult, I would collect, and I would also go and volunteer and bring people to volunteer.
You go, my friend. You go.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, we missed you, the great Jerry Lewis, and whatever happened to the telethon? You know what happened to it?
What?
The internet.
Oh.
You don't have to have a telethon. People call in anymore. You just go to the website and donate.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe that's better.
I'm finished now.
For people who are not big fans of Jerry Lewis, then maybe it's better.
Well, who's not a fan of Jerry Lewis? We know the French are.
I don't know.
They love Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
And now we can begin our show in earnest.
There we go.
We ate 12 minutes of Georgia Vegas.
There we go. Well,
sorry, Georgia.
We'll make up for it.
Sorry.
No problem.
Fun packed. So, good morning, good afternoon, Georgia.
Yeah, good afternoon. It is afternoon by now.
It is. Yeah.
All right.
So introduce her kind of formally.
So we have with us today Georgia Vehu, and Georgia has a long and extensive resume. She sent me her resume, and I've known Georgia. How long, Georgia?
Oh, dear. How long have we been at the University of South Florida?
I mean, I think it's
45 years.
Oh, my God.
maybe.
45 years?
That's pretty cool.
Wow, yeah, it is, and I remember her back then, and then in and out of my life, she sort of showed up in various ways, and then she ends up marrying a friend of mine, and the two of them are a couple, and it's
Powerhouse.
Life is a very interesting circular event. So yes, I remember you at USF, but your career has been. I did not realize so much of what your career was about until I read your resume. Isn't that interesting? Somebody you've known that long and you don't know. So let's start with your personal life a little bit, and then we'll get into these other things, these accomplishments of your life. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Tampa. I'm actually an Air Force brat, and I've been here since I was 5 years old. And I grew up in South Tampa, and went to the first Robinson High School. And I always thinking I was going to go to a plant, and then they opened this new school, and I was so disappointed. But it was went to Robinson, and then after that, very involved in the Vietnam War was going on.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, I ended up married at 19, and that was after I had gone to 2 years of college and became a housewife, actually an Army wife, because we ended up in Oklahoma, and then came back to Tampa after he was able to get out of the Army. This is where my family was, where my friends were. Raised my first daughter, and then decided that it was about time that I went back to college. Mm-hmm. And then that's what drew me to University of South Florida, because I realized, it took me a long time to realize that I really wasn't made to be a nurse. I really wanted to go and work in the arts.
Was that the original plan, to be a nurse?
Yeah, and I when I
It was a
realized-
thing, right? It was a thing that a lot of young ladies described it.
And I think a lot of that may have been influenced by the Vietnam War, but here I was at University of Florida taking my first year of nursing, and there was a class of maybe about eight women, no men, only women. And then all of a sudden I looked around and I thought, these women really want to do this. I'm still sketching in my sketchbook. I'm still reading about history, about art history. And I said, they're really committed to this. I'm not.
Right.
So I think that's when I realized that nursing was something that I may have done as a, what do we call them, candy stripers?
Yeah, candy stripers, for real.
At the original St. Joe's Hospital here in Tampa, if any of you remember being back that far. And
we all do, Georgia. Listen, we are Tampeños of a certain year. Listen, I wanted to ask you. So, is it Anderson, Madison, Robinson?
Yes.
And what year did you come out of Robinson?
At 1964.
Okay, 64. So
Yeah,
there's a 68 alum sitting to your right there. T.R. Robinson right there, 68.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
and she was also Anderson, Madison, Robinson. So she was at Anderson with you if you were just a couple of years ahead of her.
I can't believe it. That's pretty cool. I mean, growing up in South Tampa, too, is that we were in a new subdivision.
So was she. I bet were you in
South
Manhattan
Cameron?
Manor? Manhattan Manor?
Yeah.
What street?
South Cameron, Hale.
She was on Cameron.
Really?
Cameron, yeah.
4512 Cameron? 45.
We'll figure it out when we get out of here.
Yeah,
But
because we were 4512, then 4524.
so did you live next to the Whites by any chance? Michael White and his family?
Yes, Sandy White.
Okay, so just listen. We'll have to talk afterwards.
Old home week here.
Georgia. We'll have to talk afterwards because
right,
our
will
listeners
do.
are like, "What are they talking about?"
This is crazy.
Just know that Sally's parents were best friends with the Whites, and that's how close they were. So the gentleman that lived at the end of the block that was the artist, honey. The gentleman that lived at the end of the block that was the artist.
I'm trying to remember that too. Yeah.
Okay, well, we
we go
digress,
later. We'll
but
go back.
we will have
We
a café con
digress.
leche and talk
But
about
it proves that
how small is Tampa.
Tampa.
How small is Tampa?
Tampa is
Yeah,
a
you
still.
are kidding.
You guys were a block and a half away from Plant District. You know that.
I know.
You were on the northernmost reaches of the
that was wild.
because you were north of Gandy.
And I
Anyway.
think what was wonderful too about being the first, group of people that went there. I was so happy and proud that we were one of the first schools to be integrated. Unfortunately, there was only two, and they were again Air Force children.
Correct.
And so I was really proud of that. Later on, I went to, as I said, we went back to South Florida, University of South Florida, and that was in 1978. And I think that's basically when I met Joe. So it may be a little over 45 years.
Yeah, no, it's a long
And
time.
that's also where I met Milt, and we kind of hung out at the College of Fine Arts. I think there was I was an older student. We kind of went to the Empty Keg, between our art history classes and our art classes.
Mm-hmm.
We had, I think, University of South Florida at that time, the College of Fine Arts was a very close group of people. I mean, we had graphic studio, we had visiting artists that were out of this world that were open.
Yes.
And so it was a really positive experience. Then my life sort of went a little different direction. My parents, who on my father's side he's from Maine, and so they had a summer home in Maine, and they said, "Why don't you and our granddaughter come up and spend the summer with us in Maine?" And I said, "Oh, that'd be great, but I don't want to lose, the hours that I need for graduation." So I was able to go to Dr. Dietrich, my art history professor, and Dr. George Pappas, who was the head of the college, and set up directed studies. And so with that, I became really connected. I was able to go to Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture in Maine. So what I did was go with my parents and spent a lovely summer, but every other weekend I'd end up at the Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture. And so there I was doing a directed study about women artists, because that particular summer, there were the most amazing women that were going to be there. Elaine de Kooning, Nancy Graves, Linda
Wow.
Binglis, Agnes Dennis. I was able to interview every one of those wonderful women, learn a lot from them about art and about how their life went forward as women artists and with the struggles they had. And so that particular summer, I also discovered that I was pregnant with my second child, which in my wildest dreams I never thought that that would happen. But that gave those women artists, took me under their wing and protected me.
Wow.
That whole summer to keep me
What an
safe.
advantage.
Yeah, and what they told me was the most fascinating stories. And I have to share the one from Elaine de Kooning. And the only reason why I'm going to share that is because I think it makes a lot of difference to women who are working and who continue to work. And then they think, well, can I raise a family? Can I not raise a family? Elaine told me a story very clearly that when she and Willem were talking about having children, that she actually borrowed one of her friend's babies and said, can I have your baby for like a day? And just so and I'll babysit.
Try it out.
And I'm going to take her to my studio. So she had the baby in the studio. And when she was working, and then Elaine said, every time the baby cried, I stopped painting. And I went to the baby. Every time the baby needed me, I stopped working. And I went to the child. And she said, then I realized that my art meant more to me than having
Can't do
a
both.
child. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great story.
And I will tell you that they have that I tape recorded all these, and so also the transcripts. So I recently donated it all to Skowhegan's archives, so they were very thrilled to actually have it. So
That's very poignant, Georgia,
Yeah.
because people don't realize that. I think that, to reach great levels, whether it's in the field of science or art or industry, whatever it is, even sometimes athletics, because you have to make tremendous sacrifices. And Derek Jeter, he didn't get married, he didn't have his family until he finished his baseball career because he knew he couldn't be distracted by anything. And it comes at great sacrifice, but we don't get that great art unless...
And you make the decision. I mean, there were a couple other women artists that I interviewed, and they said yes, it worked for them,
Right.
but it did make a difference in my life. I mean, I love my daughters, both of them, but it did stop me from moving forward in the art world, especially in Tampa. I mean, God, Joe, the times that they would criticize Tampa as being
right.
a cultural desert.
A cultural black hole.
Wasteland, yeah.
A wasteland.
People would leave Tampa to buy art. They didn't
That's
buy
right.
it. They didn't buy it here. Even though you had Rauschenberg, you had Rosenquist, you had Don Saff, you had Theo Wujek. You had all these famous artists that were
Right here.
right here. And yet they would they wouldn't support it.
Yes, because the art world depends so heavily on patronage. And patronage in Tampa was always what you said. They go to New York to buy their art. And what that caused was young artists coming out of the graduate program at USF would leave Tampa
And go.
away. So it was always debilitating the scene.
Well, you remember the scene in Ybor. I mean, my gosh, El Sama, the artists and writers.
Absolutely. It was rich.
David Audette, who was involved in it, Rosenquist, Bud Lee.
Yes.
And also to Paul Wilburn, who is still in the
Still
Tampa Bay
active,
area.
right. Still active.
in it.
Right, yeah.
And then the playmakers, I want to say the El Sama.
Right.
And I have to admit, I was part of that. The artisan, not the artisan, the Guavaween.
Yes.
And
We all remember that?
You were involved in the initial Guava Wings,
Yes,
weren't you?
absolutely. And I was fortunate to have kept some of the artifacts, so I donated them recently to the Tampa Bay
History?
Art History
Yeah.
Museum.
Good
They're
for
in their
you.
archives. Anybody wants to know about all the dirt?
Well, currently David Audette is writing a book about the artists and writers balls and that period, and that's a whole long story we should talk again sometime about. But that's a much needed. That period of time in Ybor City needs to be documented because, unfortunately, the rewriting of history came when people came around in the 90s and said, well, before the bars got here, nothing was happening. There was much more happening in the 80s than the bar scene has ever brought to Ybor City. So, at any rate, let's stay on track about this. So you're at Skowhegan. Now what happens? You come back to Tampa?
Yeah, I come back to Tampa. I finished up at University of South Florida and get my degree. But before that degree happens, I actually start volunteering as the Artists Alliance.
Yes.
Yeah, the Artists Alliance in Hyde Park. The developer wanted to bring Hyde Park back. At that time, my family and I were living in Hyde Park. The developers were trying to bring that Swan Avenue, and I asked him, I said, there's an open space here. And it wasn't just me, it was a group of other people involved, mostly from USF. Mm-hmm. And we managed to get the developer to donate this empty gallery space, which had carpeting on the wall. Do you remember?
I do.
The carpeting? But
Yes.
it made it so easy to hang shows
Yes,
and take them
yes,
down. You
yeah.
didn't have to paint the walls all the time.
Right.
And then Selena's Restaurant,
Right next door?
and wow, every time we had all these shows, bring more business, which made the developers happy, made the restaurants happy.
Yes.
And we also made the artist community very happy.
And that synergy, Georgia, I wanted to talk a little bit about. I'm so glad you brought this up because you were so critically involved in that. I exhibited work at the Artists Alliance as well as your husband did.
That was in the Rosenquist Invitational.
That's right. That's right. It was a great show. Now, what was the role of Marty Hirons in that operation?
I will say, if anything, she is the one woman who got us the money from the Junior League of Tampa.
Yes.
Marty was a strong woman. She was going to school at the College of Fine Arts. I think she was taking painting.
Right.
But she also had the wherewithal to bring people together, and not just people who have the interest in art, but people who are willing to support it financially.
Yes.
So she got that first grant that paid for the first salary, $5,000, for a part-time executive director who worked full-time.
Right.
And she was very active.
Yeah, and I think that in the history of Tampa's art scene, Marty Hirons, I bring her name up all the time because I remember meeting her. Her energy was intense, and what I remember about her was she was sort of being, let's face it, kind of a debutante who had one foot in the debutante world and one foot in the kind of bohemian world.
Absolutely.
And she was just a great person. And really, when we look at what's happening now with the Crest Building and all the things in Tampa that are trying to support the arts, she was one of the first people, along with you and others, that created a space for emerging artists. That's what's so critically important. When you're a young artist and you're making work, where do you show it? How do you show it? And how do you develop your audience? And how do people get to see your art? And I don't know that we have a significant space in Tampa today where emerging artists can show their work. So I think the Artists Alliance was a very important moment in our history.
It absolutely was. And I think when you look at the registry, we had over the state of Florida, there was over 400 or close to 400 emerging artists who were registered. Whether or not they paid membership, they may not, because you took them, you wanted to know where they are. You wanted their slides in their slide registry.
Right.
Also, too, the Artists Alliance provided an opportunity for emerging artists to actually show their work in other places. They had the first show called Cityscapes, where you took art, including three-dimensional art, downtown and put them in office buildings, in banks, and the first Tico Plaza downtown.
Right.
So it's a history, Joe, that I'm concerned that is sort of lost.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And and that is the main reason why, I wanted to make sure that whatever I had went into the archives for the History Center.
Well, we need to write about this, Georgia. We need to start
David,
writing about it.
I
And
really
David,
think,
yes.
because
Yeah.
I'd love to share and to to add what we have there, because it's getting lost.
Yes.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but
Please
you
do.
know me.
Say whatever you want.
Please do.
Okay, is that when I went to a museum, Tampa Museum exhibit, it was probably about 2 or 3 years ago when they were talking about the history of the museum. They forgot the prehistory,
Right.
what made that museum possible.
Right.
It's sort of like they said that it was a statement that was basically saying, well, art didn't come here till the museum did, which is not true.
Right.
So
It's
that's
seldom, if ever, true. We're going to do a station ID right now, and when we come back on the backside of that, we'll introduce our guest anew. We'll also give you the number that you could call if you'd like to join the conversation. If you've got a question for Georgia, a comment, we'd love to hear from you.
Hello, I'm Derek McCarran, and you're listening to The Conversation with Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter on WMNF 88.5 FM in Tampa.
Wow, if we could just have that each and every week.
He's wonderful, isn't he?
We're just going to have to use that more often.
Just a wee bit.
It makes me smile when I hear it.
I wanted to use a wee bit the whole day after that. Yeah.
If you're just joining us, we're talking today with Miss Georgia Vahue, and she has had a prolific career here in everything arts in Tampa from the very beginning, from the early days, from the days
Yes.
when she was doing things and nobody was paying attention.
Yes.
And Joe's involved in that as well. Joe King Carter's involved in that as well.
In a different way, but yes.
If you would like to join us, if you have a question or a comment, 813-239-9663. You can send us a text, 813-433-0885. Emails are always welcomed. That's dj@wmnf.org. And I can say from just listening to the conversations here between you two and being kind of like that fly on the wall, just kind of, it must have been awfully inspiring in the early days, because you guys were pioneering a lot of this stuff out of the
not
box.
realizing it. Not
No.
realizing
You were doing what you were doing, but it was early
I think
days.
We're definitely doing it because we believed very strongly that the arts make a difference, and also
Right.
too that it makes sense as far as business. It makes sense as far as visitors to Florida, that there was more than just football, the beaches, that there was more going on. But I do have to add one thing, Joe, is that I have to tell you that most of your listeners probably don't recognize me as Georgia Vahue. They might recognize me as Jody Conaway.
Jody Conaway, folks.
So sorry about that. But, I am a Libra,
And
but
now you've ripped it.
I know, but-
now we know.
yeah, because nobody would say, "Wait, I don't remember Georgia Vahue."
That's right.
I
But they do remember Jody Conaway. Yeah, I
or
do too. Yeah.
Georgia Conaway.
That's right.
So, but and my life changed with Artists Alliance and walking away from it, because it was difficult, because what happened was that they couldn't afford it anymore.
Right.
And the board of directors, no matter how wonderfully sincere they were, and we had we had lawyers on our board, we had affluent Tampans.
Tampeños.
Right.
We call them Tampeños
But
here.
Right.
the fundraising wasn't there.
Yes.
We survived on the money we brought in from donations.
And bake sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and occasionally we did get grants, but there was a point in my life that I had to choose financially, that it just wasn't working for my family and I.
Sure.
So
I want to say too that you just touched on this, so I'm going to go a little deeper even.
Okay.
I know that you are. I know that the issues of women are critically important to you, as it should be to everyone. When you were just touching on this concept that suddenly the Tampa Museum, which I worked at as an employee for many years, that it sort of sprung up and art happened in Tampa. That pre-existing moment in which money was being raised and efforts were being made to create the museum and to create the Artists Alliance was all done by women.
yes.
I can't think of a single man involved in that process. There might have been some, and I'm sure there were men on the board that wanted to contribute. But the reason the art scene early in Tampa was being created was because of women. Some of them were junior leaguers, some of them were debutantes. Many of them were wealthy for a variety of reasons. But it doesn't matter who they were. They had the vision that Tampa needs an art scene, and it wasn't happening, and they wanted to make it happen. And that always impressed me deeply.
Absolutely, and I could probably name a few, but if I name a few, I'd probably left out a few.
Right,
and I
don't hurt anybody's feelings.
I don't want to offend
Right,
anybody.
right.
But definitely, some of those families are still very involved in Tampa.
Absolutely.
And so
what happened with the Artists Alliance after? Because really, it's because of the Artists Alliance that I got connected to Ybor City, because it became the Florida Center for Contemporary Art in Ybor City. Can you address that a little bit?
What I know of it, first of all, was the grant that we received while I was still the executive director for $53,000, which was a grant for facility renovation. That money was able to go to the Ybor when they moved to Ybor. And I think that decision was made because the developer said, I no longer need a gallery next to Selena's in Hyde Park. I no longer need that to bring people here. They know Hyde Park, and they moved on. So I believe that was where the money went to help. Help the Ybor project. I went down there a couple of times and, offered to see if they needed any additional, because I was working in Ybor at that time at Playmakers Theater at the Cuban Club. And what I observed was that there wasn't the involvement as far as board members or as artists that there had been earlier. It's sort of like it lost its support.
I agree.
And I don't know whether, maybe you can comment on that. Was it that people still didn't feel confident in Ybor?
Yeah, I think that was I think that was part of it. I think Ybor's the concept of the ugly or the redheaded stepchild, Ybor City has always had to overcome this reputation, and the reputation wasn't serving the gallery very well. Yeah.
And I remember as growing up how wonderful it was to go to Ybor. You could to go shopping, to find fabrics as a kid, and also wonderful food, the best stella crabs ever.
Amazing retail.
You're preaching to the choir, Miss Georgia. You know this is a home game for us.
So we have a phone call, I believe?
We do, and we're going to go to it now. Linda's calling from Tampa, and she has something that she would like to contribute if I could only get this mouse to cooperate. Hi, Linda. You're on the air, please.
So, Georgia brought art to Tampa City Council. I don't know if you remember this, but we called it the Midnight Art Squad. We took down the plaque from Boy Scouts from 1953 and put up really contemporary art, and it was phenomenal. And the next day, the council members walked in and they said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's art." And they said, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "It's whatever you think it is." One of the pieces by Joan Marmorelos was 60 gold bags, small gold bags on the wall. I personally interpreted it as the corruption of previous councils, but, it's art. It's whatever you think.
In the eye of the beholder.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Linda, for remembering that. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's fabulous.
It was fun, and it was subversive. And, art should be subversive. It can be many things, but that really brought great joy.
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason we invited Georgia to be our guest, is because she's, I don't want to use the cliche unsung hero, but she's an unsung hero. And so
all these different manifestations in so many organizations for so many decades with her energy and sparkle and creativity. Georgia is a treasure, a Tampa treasure.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, Linda, for listening today.
Hey, Linda, we're going to reach out to you. I want you to come in and do our show sometime. Will you do that?
She's great on the history of Hyde Park. She actually put together a book about that, a booklet.
Well, we would love to have Linda under any situation. She can talk about whatever she'd like.
Thank you, Linda. We appreciate you so much.
Sure thing.
Bye-bye. Yes. See, that's
Yes.
what happens here on The Conversation. We
Yeah, that's it.
we start to creep into everybody's subconscious, and the next thing you know, and listen, we'd like to give you your flowers today, even if it's just figuratively.
Yeah.
Because you'd certainly deserve them.
So real quick, I just want to say that the reason I started to go to Ybor City was because I was I was volunteering time to the Florida Center. And I had worked extensively in installing shows at the Tampa Museum, and they needed somebody that could paint a wall and spackle a wall and do the lighting. And so I started to work there. And that's really what brought me to Ybor City. Now, let's move past that because you've got so much to talk about.
Yes.
What happens next in the life of Georgia?
What happened next is arts education. Playmakers, I left Playmakers and for a short period of time worked in retail, traveling all over all over the state of Florida and traveling way too much away from my family. And I felt like I needed a quieter, simpler life. Right. So why not go back to school and become an art teacher, K through 12? And boy, did I. And I loved every minute of it. My first job was, first place was in Waimama. And
Wow.
well, actually, no, I have to go back. It was at Gorey Elementary School because they're the one who talked me into going back and get arts education, said we need an art teacher. And then it was at Gorey, then at Mitchell, but it was part-time, and at West Shore Elementary, it was when you had art on a cart. So I was offered then a position to have art in my own classroom in Waimama. Here I am living in South Tampa, go for a 35-minute drive. Do I really want this? And I said yes. And I loved every minute of it, working with the kids. And then so much of that time, I ended up at Young Middle Magnet School for Science and Math and Technology because I always felt science and arts always connected. And I went to Young and had a most fantastic classroom and an office and a kiln room. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven.
Come on.
Yeah, I can't believe it because I wish all our teachers had something like
They
that.
let you have all that?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty good. Not only what else came with that was that I applied just out of the blue for a Fulbright scholarship, fellowship to teach abroad. And it was when they were doing the teachers exchange. And in my wildest dreams, I probably thought that I would not get it, but what the heck. So in August of that year, I applied. I went for an interview in December. And one of the questions I think that nailed it for me was, well, what if we put you in a place, in a city, in a town where they really don't have an art budget or have any art supplies? And what would you do if you didn't have any paper?
Proverbial art desert.
Well, guess what? You know the answer. I said we'd make our own art,
it.
our
Yeah.
own paper, and
Yeah.
of course we would. We could
Of
make our
course.
own paint.
Yeah.
And I just thought only an art teacher would know that that's what you do.
That's right.
So
Because there's never a budget.
no, never.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, I didn't find out till the following March that I had been one of the 200 out of 2,000 that they awarded. And
Wow.
I went to, my first choice was the UK. And I ended up teaching art and design in the East End of London at a girls' school made up of Bangladeshi girls, second generation, Somali girls, second generation Asian, first generation East Enders. It was the most rewarding experience and totally changed my
That
How
life.
sounds
old were you at this
amazing.
time, Georgia? How old were you at this time?
Oh, Lord. Hey, guys, don't give up. I was probably 50.
Well, that's why I
52,
ask you, because
yeah.
that's a big step, and it takes an incredible amount of energy.
What an experience
to
that
do
must have
that.
been. Yeah.
And I felt more confident because my youngest daughter, was in college. I felt comfortable with that.
There you
that
go.
she was fine. That she.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
I thought that was important.
Yeah, it was. I was 50 going on. 51.
Yeah, you're not 30
yeah.
going out there with, you're already
So
full grown.
And
Yeah.
so those friendships and the teachers that I worked with and the artists I met are still our friends today. But you don't know what a difference you make in someone's life. Actually, I guess probably less than 8 years ago, I got an email from one of my former students, at which she said, is this Miss Conaway? Yeah, of course.
Right.
She said, if it is, I want to tell you and that you really changed my life. You believed in me.
Wow.
How great
She
is
was
that?
from-
That's good stuff.
She was from Bangladesh. And I was like, oh my gosh, Amina, you remember me? And they did. They remembered me.
You
And-
remember teachers, you remember coaches.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
remember these
Yeah.
people in your young
Yeah.
life that
Right.
stay with you for the rest of your life.
I remember my physics teacher. My gosh.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Ferguson.
At Robinson.
Yeah,
At Robinson.
Because those people have given to you. They've given you gifts, and that's one of the greatest emotional bonds that can happen is when a person reaches out to another person.
And the cross-cultural experience was probably even more special for you going to London.
Yeah. And,
How
and
long were you there?
Actually, 1999 to 2000, so it was only a year. But it was
Action-packed.
But what a year.
Full
It
year.
was,
Yeah, full
it
year.
was quite a year, and
Yeah.
we would go back every time. So it basically changed my life. And when I came back to Tampa, I was coming back home, and then my life changed again.
And
In what way? In what way? Don't
Well,
just
let's put
drop it. Let's-
All right. Well, my first husband would not go with me to London. He said that that was basically he said that he didn't want to live out. He couldn't leave his job,
okay.
but he could leave me. So
Okay.
so that's when we separated and eventually divorced. But the biggest change for me when I came back to Tampa was that I reconnected with some of my USF and my friends, and Milton was one of those, even though he was living in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And so we dated, and I was at this point, still teaching, and he went back to New York, and then 9/11 happened.
Yes.
And I think, as we all know, it changed a lot of people's lives.
Changed the world.
At that point is like when something monumental, even by age or by that, is that don't waste time.
Yes.
And so that's when I decided to take him up on his request that I move to New York
I see.
and possibly marry him.
Oh, that cad.
Yeah.
Way to go, Milty. Way to go. Pretty wily of him.
Yeah, and it did. And so that, my gosh, the next 10 years after that was, my whole life changed at Great Neck Arts Center. I mean, I was the executive director, head of education, head of the gallery, doing exactly what I loved at the very beginning, which was curating art shows.
Full circle moment.
Yes.
Full
Yeah,
circle.
and
That must have been a wonderful experience.
it was.
How
Absolutely.
long were you there?
10 years.
10 years.
Wow.
Well, 10,
Wow.
maybe close to 11. And,
So rich with experiences, I'm sure.
and then we were tempted after my stepson and Milton's son graduated from high school to come back to Florida because he's from Winter Park. I'm basically from Tampa.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. And so when I came back, I was Art Keeble talked me in to taking a job in Ruskin as the director of the Firehouse Cultural Center.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that being said,
And tell people a little bit about what that was like, what the center was about out there, because that's sort of out in the pioneer reaches, right?
right,
Yeah.
absolutely. What it was here this area was growing substantially, more housing, and there was no place for anybody to go for arts or theater except to come to Tampa.
Right.
And as I mentioned earlier, driving to Waimama, it's a 35-minute to 40-minute drive, and even that's just one way.
Then.
That was then, and even now it's worse.
Sure.
But they were basically, there was nothing for people who were moving there from Apollo Beach to Sun City Center, except if they were places that they could have arts or theater, it was private and not open to all the rest of the residents. And so what the Cultural Center and the people involved have been really wanting to bring the arts and the theater to that area. Bruce Marsh was very much involved in that.
Yes.
There were Sandy was also, wish I could remember her name right now, but there were a number of people who were always involved in the arts that wanted to bring those opportunities down there. So I was there from 2013 to 2020. And then COVID, of course.
Hit.
Yeah. And the programming is still going on. They have a strong director, Chris Bredbender, and I'm really happy to see that. Then Art talked me into something else. He said, "Why are you retiring?" And then that became Community Stepping Stones.
Stepping Stones.
And
for people who don't know about
Yeah.
Stepping Stones, let's talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that. It's a great place.
It's located in Sulphur Springs, right there on the river. It is fantastic programming, arts education for after-school programming, summer programs for underserved communities.
Yes.
And it is has its own building, beautiful park, and right now run, I think, by the two most wonderful people I was able to find. And we have a marvelous program director and a new executive director.
I've got a question for Georgia.
Yes.
So, STEM is cool, but STEAM is exponentially cooler because you can judge a community, you can judge citizenry, the community at large, by how much they appreciate and apprize art. Talk a little bit about how getting away from all of that is just to the detriment of society at large.
Oh, yes.
I mean, all of us have our own personal opinions, but you are close to the source.
I will tell you that art can make a true difference in a child's life. It takes away the pain. It takes away the anger. And I think the anger is a lot that children will keep inside. And if they can express it visually or verbally, it's an ability to move on. And one of the things that we've also been able to do, not only in Ruskin at the Firehouse Cultural Center and also at Community Stepping Stones, is to bring other partnerships in. The Tampa Museum has become a really good partner for both those locations. And also the health organizations been able to support art as a health support. And that being said, our number of kids, and I'm still involved as a board member, so
You will always be involved.
Yeah.
Jody or Georgia or whatever we're calling you today. You will always be. It is a part of who you are.
Yeah. I did retire after 8 years of being on the Public Art Committee and the Hillsborough County Arts Council. It's like, let somebody else do that. But I will stay involved when it comes to arts education and the kids.
And children.
Because when you see those smiles on their faces, when you see their artwork installed at one of the libraries.
At the Florida State Fair.
Yeah.
When they they display them, they get blue ribbons and
absolutely,
ribbons.
and they have rewards.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. And their parents, I think probably that's the toughest thing. Their parents are working so hard, and then for their parents to come and support the kids sometimes is really tough because they're working. So working hard to get the parents and the children to be together in events and to participate together. So, as I said, art education is an ability to express themselves.
Art education should be in all school systems, certainly as important as sports education.
Easy, Joey. Easy.
Should be.
Easy. No, I got you.
Because I'll tell you something.
I'm agreeing with you 100%.
For every dollar spent on the arts, $3 to $4 return.
Yeah. Easily.
Guess what? Sports
not
can't,
the same. Not the
sports
same.
can't say that.
No. Listen.
All I'm saying is not that I don't think I think sports is a great thing
Put
for
them
the
on
community.
the same level playing field.
But when somebody says, "Why don't we put a sports arena in that neighborhood?" and it'll help the neighborhood. No, why don't you put an opera in that? Why don't you put an art gallery in that neighborhood? Because or a music
performing arts center,
a performing arts
theater.
That's the kind of thing because
Agreed.
Human expression is valuable at this level for children. And when I started teaching art for a period of time. I taught art late in life with adults with intellectual and physical disabilities, and I never realized what art teaching. What that was like. It's an amazing experience because you see their faces. Just you see what's happening to them.
They gain confidence. They gain confidence in themselves. and also in their ability, and it helps them in their other lessons. I must say, I still firmly believe art and science.
They have to
Should be
in there.
together. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Because after all, didn't a guy named Leonardo da Vinci teach us something about
That's
that?
right, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Michelangelo, these
Yeah.
guys they knew what was going on. Let's get this last caller before we get off the air. Oh my goodness. Thank you, caller. We see you there, and we're coming to you presently. If I can get this to work. Mario, just do your thing. All right, here we go. Caller, Pat in Tampa, you're on the air. What say you?
Hi, it's Pat Kemp, and I've been listening for the whole time, and I haven't wanted to call because I haven't wanted to interfere with 1 minute of what I was hearing. And I've heard also Linda Falsena call, but Georgia has been, oh man. And I also texted or wrote a little email, but it didn't. I didn't hear it. So I just wanted to say you've just done incredible work in the community. It's incredible to hear your history, which I wasn't really familiar with, and to just these last thoughts about art in our communities and all of that. So I just want to thank you for everything you've always done, and Linda as well for being, such a standout and bringing our community along. So thanks.
Oh, Pat, thank you so much. You've always been supportive of the arts, and I love how you still support Community Stepping Stones.
Good to talk and good to hear.
That's great, Pat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you so much. You know, her leadership is always greatly appreciated as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're going to have her on as well. We can have her on as well. and
Hey,
then
Pat, you're listening. Come on our show sometime.
We'd love to talk to her.
Yeah.
Man, this has been a great show.
We're just sitting around the kitchen table here, just chatting. That's all we're doing.
Without our café con leche, because it's
Yeah.
not allowed in the studio.
Yeah, well, Pat and Linda both are old pro. I shouldn't say old. They are pros at being on the radio and media. But come on our show sometime.
We could
We'd like
pick up
to
this
have you.
conversation somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, we could do that too. We can do lunch.
That's right.
The group of us.
There we go.
Anything
So-
in closing, because we're just about up against the clock. We want to make sure that Georgia says what she needs to. Jody, say what you need to.
Well, I will
what
say-
you would like to.
Never give up. I have been going through cancer, and I want to make sure any of those of you who are out there, I've been going through it off and on since 2014. And the one thing I will say, stay engaged, continue to do the things you love, and be with the people you love. Thank you guys very much.
Oh, wow.
That's beautiful.
So
That's
let me just say, as a friend to this family, that what Georgia is saying is that she has been fighting since 2014.
Yes.
And anyone out there who's dealt with cancer, and I think most of us have had a person in our family who has suffered and dealt with it, is that it's been I'm sure quite a tough struggle, and it speaks to the courage and strength that Georgia has, and we so appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm waiting for my hair to grow back.
You do look good in hats, though.
Well,
you do
thank
look good
you.
in hats.
Just look at it this way: mine will never grow back. So we so appreciate. Really, your life story today is a story of service to community. Rather, even though it's mostly and much about the art community, you've always really been a community person.
Yes.
And this is a community radio station, and it's a perfect marriage for you to be on our show.
Linda said it best when she said that Georgia's a Tampa treasure.
That's right.
And, you know, in light of the fact that most recently we've lost a couple of Tampa treasures.
Yes, we have.
Over the past week and a half. So we're grateful that Georgia's still with us. And thank you for coming in today, Georgia.
Thank you so much.
What do you got, big guy? What's coming up next?
Well, as always, special thanks to Jessica, the OG of board operators. She's made this show possible today.
And
believe
one of
me.
these days she's going to read an email. I know she's busy over there on the other side. She's going to read one.
That's
one of these
okay.
days.
And also, thank you to our call taker, Joe Remo. Captain Joe is on the scene. And then coming up next on It's the Music Wednesday is Sam. Sam's over there.
Sam, I am.
She's cranking it, getting it ready. She's running the steam engine, and she's got her hand on the pulse. So it's about to happen.
So when we bring you in the next time, Georgia, and there will be a next time, maybe we'll bring your partner in with you, and we can have like a little round table conversation about Tampa in the early days. Now, what Milton might not remember, you can help him remember. But I would love to do a deeper dive and talk about the Tampa that you grew up knowing, that I grew up knowing, that my wife Sally grew up knowing, and Joe came to know soon enough.
Well, I'm like Milton. I came from another place.
Right,
Yeah.
but stayed once they got here,
Yeah.
because I think
Right.
the warmth and the charm that has that takes your heart once you get here.
Absolutely.
So that we will do, and we promise that's going to be a wonderful show. So on behalf of everybody that puts this show together each week with love in their heart to inform, educate, and entertain you a little bit, I'm Mario Nunez alongside Joe King Carter. You're listening to WMNF Tampa.